Hi everyone, welcome back to this series of videos on Ind AS, that is Ind AS with Accountsman. In the present video, we'll be discussing Ind AS 33, which talks about earnings per share. So we're going to discuss Ind AS 33, that is earnings per share. So come on, let's get started. Like we do in every other standard, the first thing that we're going to ask ourselves with regard to any standard is what exactly does this standard mean? Then we're going to see why, when, how, and once we figure out these questions what, when, why, how, we would have covered with the recognition, measurement, presentation, disclosure, and scope, everything of the standard. So let's get started. So the first question that we're going to ask ourselves in this particular standard also is what exactly do we mean by earnings per share? It is profits attributable to each ordinary share. If the question is about what exactly do we mean by earnings per share, the answer is it is a profit attributable to each ordinary share. Now, if I am running a sole proprietorship and my sole proprietorship makes a lakh profit, I know that entire lakh attributes to me. If I am running a partnership firm and that makes a profit of a lakh, I will use my profit sharing ratio to identify how much profit belongs to me and how much to my partner. But in the case of a company, what exactly happens is there is a certain amount of profit earned by the company, but I don't completely hold the shares in the company. I am just, after all, one shareholder in the company. So how much of that profits of the company relates to me? So that's something that I want to know as a shareholder. Now recently Infosys, Aditya Birla, as well as our Reliance, all the companies released their Q4 results of last year and Q1 results of this year also. So when they released, they basically told it as a statement that how much is the profits that they made in this year. Now, is that the profit made by me? No. Is it not the profit made by me? No. Again, part of that profit belongs to me, but what part belongs to me? I need to identify. So they give me EPS, earnings per share, how much is the profit that belongs to each shareholder. Now I know how many shares do I hold. I multiply by that to understand how much is the profit that I have made by being invested in the company. So that's how that is the meaning of earnings per share. So when we talk about profits attributable to each shareholder, it is called as earnings per share. And in this entire standard, we're going to talk about two earnings per shares, two forms of EPS. The first one is basic EPS and the next one is diluted EPS. Yeah, diluted means there is decrease in the earnings per share, there is decrease in the profit attributable to each shareholder, so that becomes the decreased decreased earnings per share, nothing but diluted EPS. So the entire discussion of the standard runs behind basic EPS and diluted EPS. Once we understand what is basic, what is diluted, how to compute basic, how to compute diluted EPS, we're done with the standard. So before we finish the standard, we'd have to just begin it. We're still at the very early stage. So we're done with the first question, what. Next is our part to understand why should we compute. Why should we compute EPS? Towards the end of the standard, I'll definitely discuss basic and diluted and how to compute it. That will be the end. So beginning with this question, why do we compute EPS? Now, firstly, I told you that whenever you been given the profit of the company in its financial statements, that is P&L account, you don't know how much of it attributes to you. So you basically go with the computation of earnings per share. So the first and foremost thing is earnings, if it is told as a simple word or a simple number, it doesn't make sense. Now if I tell you my company made a profit of 1 crore, now tell me, is my company doing really good or not? You cannot judge by mere data of 1 crore profit. You need to tell how much of the revenue has been converted into profit. If I tell my revenue was 10 crores and profit is 1 crore, that is like very good turnover from sales to profit. If I tell my revenue is 1000 crores and my profit is only 1 crore, then it is not really good. You get that? So we need to find the relationship between two items to basically understand the data. So we need to do something called as analysis. Analysis means identifying relationship between two items. We find GP ratio, we find NP ratio, we find current ratio. So all this is the analysis that we do as a part of ratio analysis. In fact, earnings per share also comes as a part of ratio analysis, wherein we analyze the relationship between two items, earnings and number of shares. The relationship between total earnings and number of shares gives us EPS. So we analyze. So now assume I analyzed and I arrived at earnings per share of 10. Now per share the profit attributable is 10. Now tell me, can you take decisions based on that? No, we need to interpret this data. Now if I tell my earnings per share is 10, is it a good amount of earnings per share or bad amount of earnings per share? I cannot really tell. I need to compare this. The comparison can either be with my past performance or comparison can be with a similar company in the industry. Now assume my company is an automobile company and assume that my company is Tata Motors. Tata Motors has an earnings per share of 10 rupees. It can compare its EPS with Hero MotoCorp, or it can compare it with Maruti Suzuki, it can compare it with Renault, or it can compare it with any other company which is in the similar industry, or it can compare its earnings per share with the same earnings per share in the previous year. This year the EPS is 10. What is the EPS in the previous year? You can compare. So that is called as what? Interpretation. So the basic computation of earnings per share is for the sake of analysis and interpretation. Do you get that? But if I have to quote it from the perspective of the shareholder, I cannot write this very general word. This is in general. Now if I have to write in specific, I'll write like this. The first one, or the first reason why we go for EPS computation is performance evaluation. Yeah. Now if I am a general public and I am about to buy the share of a specific company, what would I do? I check the EPS of both the companies. Whichever has better EPS means that its performance is better. Done. So that's the first one. And the next specific objective is statutory requirement. See, the statute also wants us to compute. If you remember the schedule given under Companies Act 2013, the format of statement of profit or loss includes basic EPS, diluted EPS below profit. So then it is statutorily mandatory for us to prepare. In fact, Ind AS 33 also makes us follow it, and following of Indian accounting standards is mandatory under certain standards, certain sections. You get that? So statutory requirement is one other reason why we basically go for this. The next one is determination of market price. So what is the next reason? Determination of market price. EPS helps us identify the market price. How? Have you heard of this formula P ratio, which is found as a relationship between MPS and EPS, market price per share and earnings price per share? So in that we have arrived at something called as P multiple or P ratio. So in that particular formula, if you know your earnings per share and P multiple, you can actually arrive at market price per share. So in a way, earnings per share will help us determine the market price, and this is the usual rate at which the share will be traded in the market. You get that? So this is a very healthy measure, and it will actually be very helpful in computing the price of the share. Even in terms of mergers and acquisition, PE multiple is one of the consideration based on which the valuation of the share is done. You get that? So these are the reasons why we go for earnings per share computation. Let us go to the next word, that is when do we compute earnings per share? As I told you, earnings per share is a mandatory item to be included as a part of our financial statements. When we prepare statement of profit and loss, at the end of statement of profit and loss, we need to write two items. One is basic EPS, other one is diluted EPS. Done. So when do we prepare this? Alongside preparation of financial statements. So if we prepare quarterly financial statements, we might be compelled to prepare quarterly EPS also. If we prepare financial statements annually, then it will be part of the annual financial statements. When I refer to financial statements, I am exactly referring to statement of profit and loss. Yeah, and as a part of statement of profit and loss, what do? We basically prepare this. Now, whenever I talk about statement of profit and loss, are we talking about separate financial statements, or are we talking about consolidated? When should we prepare earnings per share? Should it be computed in preparation of separate financial statements, or should it be prepared in computation of consolidated? The answer is both. Separate as well as consolidated. In both the cases, we should be computing this specific point, that is earnings per share. So let me go to the next question. The next question is, how do we compute? How do we compute earnings per share? If I finish answering this particular question we're done with the entire standard. So how do we compute? Two things. Number one, basic earnings per share. Number two, diluted earnings per share. Once we finish with these two, we'll be done with the entire standard. So I'll give these numbers 1 and 2. Yeah, so let's start discussion with respect to how do we compute basic EPS. So let us start our discussion with regard to computation of basic EPS. So we're starting with basic earnings per share. So the formula for basic earnings per share goes like this. Basic EPS is equal to earnings attributable to ordinary shareholders. Whatever the profit that belongs to ordinary shareholders, if I divide it by number of ordinary shares. That gives me how much is attributable to each shareholder. You get that? Like there are 4 apples and then 10 of us. How much will each of us get? Something like that. Earnings that is there to all the shareholders divided by number of shareholders. That will give us the basic earnings per share. Yeah. So, but when I talk about number of ordinary shares, it is always weighted average number of ordinary shares. Done. So now we're going to discuss about this numerator and then our denominator. So the first discussion is with respect to numerator in this fraction, and next discussion will be with regard to denominator in this particular discussion. So let's start with the first one, that is earnings attributable to ordinary shareholders. How do we arrive at earnings attributable to ordinary shareholders? Shall we? Okay. So the discussion is with regard to earnings. Can I call it EATOS? EATOS. Yeah, this is numerator. So this is our current matter of discussion. This specific numerator tells earnings. Earnings basically here refers to profits. So how do we arrive at profit? Same thing. We take that P&L format. We take revenue from revenue from operations, other income. Then we take all the expenses like consumption of raw material, purchase of stock in trade, and changes in inventory, employee benefit expenses, everything. We take finance charges, other expenses. We take everything and then we arrive at the profit. But we need to be very, very cautious about few things here. Now the first point that I want to tell is number 1. Yeah, there are certain items as per Ind AS is adjusted against reserves. Yeah, here when I tell about these items, I am basically referring to expenses. Yeah, certain expenses are not taken to statement of profit or loss. These are adjusted against reserves. Now when they are adjusted against reserves, they are not going through P&L account. When they don't go through P&L account, those expenses are not adjusted against profit, leading to higher profits. Higher profits will give us higher EPS. But in the computation of EPS, we need to reconsider those items. Those items which are not taken to PL previously because of Ind AS should be now adjusted against the profits as if Ind AS was not applicable. Then such revised profits is to be divided by weighted average number of shares to arrive at basic EPS. Let me give you example for this one, like impairment loss. Adjusted against revaluation reserve. We have not done this standard yet, but we will be doing in the upcoming videos. At certain instances, Ind AS lets us to adjust impairment loss with revaluation reserve. However, we are done with revaluation reserve when we discuss 16. Ind AS 16 we discussed this. Yeah. So, and this comes up in Ind AS 36. We'll discuss it little later. Yeah. But whenever we've been discussing that impairment loss and when we adjust it against revaluation reserve, that amount is not impacted to your P&L. So what should we do? Such impairment loss which was adjusted against revaluation reserve should now be deducted from the profit. That adjusted profit should be taken for the purpose of EPS. Or if there is any discount, or I can say not discount, I will straight away call it loss on issue of debentures. if there is any loss on issue of debentures, this, if it is adjusted against security premium, I'll write adjusted against. Adjusted against security premium. Then what is happening? This loss is adjusted against a capital profit, that is security premium. It is not gone through P&L account. Then what should we do? Such amount of loss on issue of debentures should be adjusted against my profit. Such decreased profit should be taken in computation of basic EPS. So these two items to be adjusted, or I can use the word reduced from profit before computing EPS. So these items which have not gone through PL but straight away adjust against any reserves should be taken to PL, reduce the profit, and such reduced profit is used in computation of EPS. I hope you got my point. Similar thing applies with respect to preliminary expense also. So if there is any preliminary expense adjusted against reserve, any reserve, standard allows us to do that. So if there is any preliminary expense which is adjusted against reserve, that reserve has decreased but the profit has not yet been adjusted. So what do we do? So it is not treated as a capital item. When we take that into PL, reduce it from our profit, such reduced profit will be taken in computation for the purpose of our EPS. So you get that. So this is the first and foremost point with respect to EPS. So if Ind AS has asked us to treat any expense item differently than taking it from P&L, we should bring it back to P&L, reduce it from our profit, and later take that reduced profit in computation of our EPS. This is the point of difference from our accounting standard 20 earnings per share and Ind AS 33. So this is with regard to like this. Whenever we talk about earnings available to ordinary shares, this is earnings of parent entity plus earnings attributable to shareholders of parent entity. You get that? It is earnings of the parent entity plus earnings attributable to ordinary shareholders of parent entity. Meaning, if there is a company, I mean to say our reporting entity, our reporting company, this is a holding company, meaning it has a subsidiary. This subsidiary holding relationship, whatever was there, was completely ignored in computation of EPS under accounting standard. Under Ind AS, it is completely different here. What we do is, here we take holding profit, holding company's profit plus subsidiary's profit multiplied by holding percentage. We do this, and this whole sum is taken as earnings available to ordinary shareholders, earnings available to shareholders of what? Parent entity. You get that? So under accounting standard, what we used to do was, we used to only take the company's profit and nothing else. Now what we do is, the subsidiary, if it exists, that subsidiary's profit multiplied by my percentage of holding will give me that profit of my subsidiary company which belongs to me. You get that? The controlling interest, yeah, or holding interest. So that controlling interest ka portion is also included in the profit to be considered for the computation of EPS. So this is a new point that is there under Ind AS, which was not there previously, which is very noteworthy. And next thing, whenever we go for earnings available to equity shareholders or earnings available to ordinary shareholders, the profits of parent can be categorized into 2 points here. One is from continuing operations, second one is from discontinuing operations. And whenever we talk about profits of the parent entity, we are not referring to continuous or non-continuous or which one, the profit of the parent total. That is the question. So the answer here is pretty simple. EPS should be computed for continuing operations separately, EPS should be computed for discontinuing operations separately. So I'll repeat, separate EPS. Okay. Separate EPS for continuing and discontinuing operations. So we'll have two EPS, EPS for continuing operations found separately, EPS for discontinuing operations found separately. You might say, sir, what if discontinuing operations profit is negative? That is, from discontinuing operations we have loss. It doesn't matter. You will compute negative EPS. So we'll have two EPS, EPS for continuing operations, EPS for discontinuing operations. Now, if you are there with me for this entire discussion regarding star number 2, then you might ask me a question. Sir, you told us with regard to earnings attributable to shareholders of parent from the subsidiary. Now, from the subsidiary, whatever we include, then tell me, would that be added with the continuing operations or would that be added with the discontinuing operations? Interesting thing. We need to check such holding and subsidiary relationship. Is it continuing or non-continuing? Or discontinuing? Usually it is continuing. So what we do is, I'll summarize this entire picture to you. Whatever we discussed under that star 2, we'll basically do earnings of parent from continuing operations plus earnings. Okay, I can write it in simple terms. I don't want to use the words in the standard. Yeah. Okay. Parents' share in subsidiaries profit. Yeah, using this we compute one EPS. You get that? And one more thing is earnings of parent from discontinuing operations. Using this find one more EPS. This is EPS from what operations? Discontinuing operations. This is EPS from continuing operations. So basically in our statement of profit or loss, we might have two columns, continuing, non-continuing, continuing, discontinuing. Continuing operations, it will have separate EPS. Discontinuing operations, it will have separate EPS. And I have told you there is one more thing called as diluted EPS. So there will be basic EPS, diluted EPS, basic EPS, diluted EPS. And we might have more than 1 year. The comparative is also there, no, for the previous year. And that sometimes we prepare it for 3 years. Remember, long ago we discussed this. So if you have 2 columns or 3 columns, that is years. So 3 years are there. And then in each of the year, continuing, discontinuing are there. And for each of the year, we will be finding basic EPS and diluted EPS. So basic EPS for continuing operations for the current year, basic EPS for discontinuing operations for the current year, diluted for continuing and non-continuing for the current year, and same things for the previous year and previous to previous year also will be found by us, yeah, in the preparation of our financial statements. So right now we're done with point number 1 here and point number 2 here. And all this is in the discussion of the numerator. You get that? So I'll take you to the third point with regard to this, that is preference share. But by putting that, the video might become really long. So what I'll do is I'll stop it here, but I'll mark it down here for you. So we've discussed so far till there. So number 3 will be with respect to preference shares. And we're going to discuss the impact of preference shares in our next video. So all this is part of our basic EPS. We started with EPS chapter. We had 2 things, basic and diluted. We are discussing basic EPS now. Under basic EPS, it is found under this formula. We are discussing the numerator. Then in the numerator, we've done with 2 star points. I'm going to discuss the third point in the next video. After we are done with the third point, we'll be done with the numerator. Then I'll discuss denominator. Then we'll be done with basic EPS. Then I'll take you to diluted EPS. I hope you got the flow. So that marks the end for today's discussion. See you all in the next one, in which we'll start with preference share. Till then, stay in the game.